Hi everyone. So today I want to share about something that I think is a wonderful, fascinating process. It might be surprising to some of you, maybe others will be familiar with it, and that is working with master mushroom Amanita Muscaria. So yes, I'm talking about the red mushroom with white dots, the one that we've been told to fear, stay away from, goodness forbid not ingest since we were kids. And it's actually surprising that there are a lot of hidden truths, a lot of hidden medicines that can be discovered. And I feel from my own experience that Amanita is one of them. Working with it in microdoses is the topic of today's video. So first of all, I want to make this huge disclaimer and say that do not listen to people on the internet. People do all kinds of crazy things. So please do your own research. Please talk to your doctor, holistic nutritionist, your local shaman, whoever it is that you entrust your health with. And also, more importantly than anything, please check in with your own intuition, see how it feels. Check in with your intention, why it is that you want to do it and what is stirring within you. So for me, it was something very intuitive that back at the end of last year, I suddenly found myself having this conversation with someone who shared that they had been doing microdosing with Amanita Muscaria and that it was an incredible process, was really interesting. If I at one point would be interested, that they would be able to sell me the capsules and to have that experience for myself. And there was an immediate full body yes. Like just intuitively I felt like this is it, I want to try it, I really feel that this is for me. And then also interestingly enough, I noticed that in my art, in my journaling, in my collages that I make in my notebooks, over and over again, the same image has been appearing for the last few months, and that was a girl with a moon and a mushroom, a girl with a moon and a mushroom. And oftentimes the mushroom was actually a sticker of Amanita Muscaria or some kind of cutout of Amanita Muscaria. So something within me intuitively was already preparing me for this full body yes that I felt back in December. And so the way I took it, I would like to share. It was 2 months this year, and the first one was January, and the second one was July. In January, I took it in a sort of reducing order. So starting first week, taking it 7 times, morning, once in the morning and once in the evening. Second week, 6 times, once in the morning, one in the evening, and so on and so forth, sort of reducing schedule. Because that's what it felt intuitively right for me. I read somewhere that actually the effect doesn't lessen when the dose lessens, because the effect sort of lasts for even a few weeks afterwards. And then in July, there was a full knowing that I wanted to be with it every single day and to sort of dive really deep with this experience. The way I took it was either with cacao, so making it in a cacao drink, quite a strong, quite rich drink, making it into a tea, either with hot water or sometimes with cold water, sort of making it into a tincture, opening the capsule and sort of dumping it all out. Why did I do it? Because that is a really important part of anything we do. Anything has to have an intention. And so once again, for me, there was such clarity, such knowing that this is the process that I really want to dive into before starting in January and also in July. I took time to sort of make intentions. This is the key questions that I'm working on right now. This is the key areas in which I really would like some guidance and some structure and some understanding of what are the next steps, and sort of really forming this very respectful link and connection to the, say if you will, spirit, say if you say the essence, say if you will, just the idea of what this mushroom is, and just sort of connecting with it and saying, okay, this is going to be coming into my body, and this is the reasons why I'm going to be doing this, to sort of keep reminding myself. So first of all, the physical effects, if you're interested, are very subtle. Like you're not going to be having hallucinogenic visions or anything like that. We're not talking about this kind of things. It's not about getting high. I don't know what happens with really high doses, but I would really not recommend it, because someone who is quite an expert on the subject has told me that, Amanita doesn't play with silly games like that. Like you could have very unpleasant effects that will send you a very clear message that this is not what it's for. So the effects with small doses, microdosing, which is the only subject of the conversation today, is very subtle. There's no huge changes. There's no altered reality perception, nothing like that. You can drive, you can continue with your life, everything sort of feels normal. And yet, there are effects, there are sensations within the body. There is big changes in sleep, and I want to share about that. So the effects are mostly sort of pleasant and subtle, but there's also sometimes subtle and also potentially unpleasant results, depending on what is happening with you. So I wanted to share that, for example, the biggest effect that is undoubtedly there, that is undeniably there for me, that I could share, was nighttime. The sleep absolutely converted into something else, like another realm. And both times I took it, the effect was completely different. So back in January, there was such a depth in my dreams, like the vivid clarity, the perfect recall every morning was unbelievable. Like I can't even find words to describe it. Waking up in the morning and remembering every single detail of it, and sort of feeling like I've lived there, like I've been there, and all of that. The dreams often felt really sort of positive and adventurous, and a lot going on, and all of that. The other type of sleep, which was more my experience in June, was absolutely deep, like feeling like I went to the absolute depth, the absolute bottom of the ocean, and coming back in the morning feeling so restored, like feeling just this absolute just incredible sensation, like I was coming back to my body and returning from somewhere far away. The most beautiful effect for me was also morning time, because I previously tended to have this experience where I would wake up in the morning and also feel like I sort of flopped like a pancake onto this planet. Like suddenly everything felt so dense, and like memories and current events start streaming back into my awareness, and then I just feel like, oh, this planet again, what are we doing here? What is happening? What do I have to do with my life today? And so while taking Amanita, the effect was actually this beautiful feeling of really being held in the morning, like just being landed gently on this planet and sort of contained, and I didn't have to do as much of my usual morning routines to sort of really bring myself up to speed, feel more vibrant and all of that. It felt much more gentle waking up and sort of ready for the day. During the day, the effects are usually, for me, were sort of a boost of energy, a boost of creativity, some ideas, wellness, and in July, the focus was on deep relaxation. So even during the day, feeling really calm, feeling really sort of like, even this like I don't really care energy, which is not very typical for me, and I found it was very healthy also to just like, I'm just not gonna care. This month, I'm just not gonna care as much about all these things that usually really animate me and really move me. Also, a huge thing was about discipline. Like I noticed that in January, there was a boost of direction, of discipline, of action, of more ideas flowing in that really had something, not just floating there in the ether, but sort of real actions attached to them. Whereas in June, in the summertime, it was more diminished, actually more, I was less disciplined than I normally am. And I felt like the reason for that was sort of to add some weight to my discipline engine and sort of train it a bit more, like make it a bit more difficult for me to do certain things, so that I would realize how important it is, and how this restless side of me sometimes that was being calmed down, actually it's there to move things along, to move actions, to all of that, to appreciate it more. In July, the energy during the day was also much more dense, much more grounded, much more not wanting to be so active and all of that. Also, daytime is, emotions feel more balanced. That feels like it's a little bit easier to come back when you go out of your alignment, maybe have a upsetness with some situation or an argument or whatever it is. It felt like it was easier to sort of come back to your center and feel more like, okay, well, I see that. Like, it's sort of a little bit like outside awareness of what is happening. Also, like a little side effect, I noticed that with technology, with food, things that tend to be a bit addictive or emotionally magnetic whenever we're not feeling very well, it was also easier to see that. Like, okay, well, now I'm reaching for my phone, or I'm reaching for some snack, even though I'm not really hungry, even though there's nothing really that I'm looking for from that phone experience, but sort of like, okay, there's something moving within me that is probably requiring my attention rather than shifting my attention somewhere else. And if I choose to shift my attention somewhere else, well, that's fine, because I'm doing that within the awareness that I'm doing it. But I want to come back to the dreams again, because there were such two different experiences. Nighttime was just absolutely incredible. So the first session, my January experience, had such a strong introduction to what Amanita really is. And you see it physically. It's red, it's bright red, it's so visible. It's the most visible mushroom in the whole forest floor. It's not afraid to be seen. It's sort of unapologetic. It comes there, this is who I am, this is my essence, and it's fearless, that sort of energy. According to those who work with it and those who sort of sense the essences of non-human entities like mushrooms or plants or whatever, it carries a very strong masculine energy. And from my own experience, I felt it so strongly in my initial meeting with it, in my initial meeting in January, how it sort of introduced itself as this essence. And so the way it felt is, firstly, it was through these dreams that I was sharing I had, because every single dream that I had in January in some way or another was sort of connected to masculine energy. So first, this category of dreams of super, super exciting, like sort of Indiana Jones adventures and like living a parallel life where none of my current reality exists, and just doing all these like amazing, brave, adventurous things. The second type of dreams was coming back to something in my past, usually linked to masculine energy, maybe some sort of partners, some kind of relationship situation, some kind of childhood situations that had to do with this maybe lack of the masculine container to make me feel safe and protected, or some kind of breach in the contract between the partnerships, or all kinds of things. Another dream sort of category, or more importantly, the sensation was just being so deeply loved. Like every single dream, there was this sense of the masculine container absolutely adoring me, loving me, protecting me, keeping me safe, holding in my hands. Just imagine the most absolutely perfect vision of who a father is, or a grandfather, this gorgeous, strong energy of just being held, of just being safe, of just being everything's going to be okay, and that sort of energy. And I also felt like it really showed me more about what masculine energy is all about, and sort of introduced me to how it's not only outside of me in the people around me, but also within ourselves. We have this constant fluctuation between the different aspects of ourselves within the spectrum of who we are, and sort of finding that perfect balance within ourselves, within the masculine and the feminine energies. And the masculine was shown as this gorgeous, just absolutely gorgeous energy, which is all about, it's very playful. Just I began to notice around me how when we go to parks, it is actually male dads who are usually much more playful and tumble and sort of ruffle and all that sort of games with kids, and they're much more curious. And sometimes, when I'm making a huge generalization, it's not always like that, but I felt like the essence that was there, the masculine, has this beautiful playfulness within this. It also has much more tendency to be very forward and braver and unapologetic, and being more visible in the sense of who I want to be and what I want to do and what I want to achieve. There was also this super strong understanding of how masculine takes us to completion of things. So it's beautiful to have a gorgeous, to receive some insights or energies as a female of something that you would like to do, but there needs to be that pull, that vector towards action, and a huge discipline that sort of puts it in everyday container in small blocks to take you to the steps, to take you to that dream or vision that you have. And that was shown to me so clearly, how Amanita is the essence of that, and how by working with it, you actually activate that within yourself and begin to see it in a very beautiful way in other people around you. In the second experience, in July, there was an unbelievable nighttime, deep, distant rest. And Amanita can do that if there are some blockages, if there are some things even physically within the body that need to be restored. Sort of puts you into this low energy mode to not waste any more of it. And that was including in the dreamscape, that no mental power was needed to sit there, analyze my dreams in the morning, and to it was all just sort of dimmed and made more distance, so that I could just go into the deepest rest that I've probably gone in years, during nighttime and during daytime as well. I also noticed that I had this, after my experience in January, I had this desire of I want to go back to all those dreams that I was having in January. So, in July, I was preparing myself. I'm gonna have these amazing dreams. And suddenly there was nothing. Days were passing by, a couple of weeks passed by, and the dreams, I knew I had them. I knew I participated in them, but they felt so distant. So I couldn't recall anything. I would wake up in the morning and maybe recall one word or something like that. And I loved how the message that came to me was that you do not need to rely on this mushroom, because this is not the point. You can have your dreams anytime you want. Right now, we're switching this off so that you can, firstly, not rely on it. Secondly, go into a deep rest mode. So yeah, I love that whole work within myself. I just felt in both during the January session and during the July session, it's like a list of homework that begins to emerge. Slowly, you begin to feel less noise within yourself. You begin to see all these areas that actually require a little bit more discipline, maybe a little bit more action, maybe more directed energy, maybe more boundaries, maybe more saying no, maybe more clarity, maybe a little better scheduling, better budgeting, whatever it may be, that it requires more conscious presence and conscious, very, very clear choosing around how you want this to be taken forward. I felt braver somehow. I felt this really, the container of being held unconditionally. I love that all of that is actually showing it back to me, that, the love, the gorgeous being held by the masculine energy, the playfulness of the masculine energy, all the things that we seek from others around us, to adore us, to admire us, to love what we're doing. It's actually all within us, that we need to connect within ourselves to that feminine side, masculine side, find what is the right balance within us, and provide to ourselves all these things that we think only the masculine or the feminine outside of us can provide. And finally, how did I know that I was done? In both cases, I feel that when the work is finished with Amanita, there's a diminishing interest in it. I had a couple of mild sort of headaches towards the end of it, and I really saw it as a very clear indication that the work is done here. It's very clear what you've achieved, so it becomes sort of not be so interested anymore. Perhaps the pleasant or the smell, the smell or the flavor of it becomes sort of unpleasant, not so interesting, and then you kind of begin to distance yourself from it until the next time, or perhaps not, depending on who is looking for what and what their intention is. So I just wanted to say a huge thank you if you got to this point. I have been wanting so much to share all this, because I think it's a beautiful, beautiful ally for us available, and that we can work with in moments when we feel that we need a little bit of guidance, that we need less noise, a little bit more connection with ourselves, to be able to peel off some layers, to be able to come back into our own inner balance, and to move forward with whatever dreams or visions that we have. So thank you once again, and until next time.